last week, and this morning I didn't, I was just having fun getting new translation. Vitro. A beard is a full-time job, you know?
Is that a beard brush?
It's a brush. I use my beard. That makes it a beard brush. What makes a brush a beard brush? I have a student who he struggled with his beard. He's very, very concerned. I mean, men are now, I'm not supposed to be into this. He's very concerned with his appearance, very, very much. I know him as a boy. And how he looked, I mean, the truth was he grew up poor. When you grow up poor, you grow up needy, you know, and that's how I would express it. He had to look very pretty. And one of the big issues was that when he was in yeshiva, a lot of guys started playing with their beards. They cut them, you know, they pick. So he decided to make his beard beautiful. And his beard, he looked like it was wax. He made a business out of it. He made all these products. The from guy who sells beard products. And a student of mine, yeah, he's making a living out of it. Yeah. Brushes with it's such a catch here. Everything is an design in America. Okay, is everybody here? It's a simple question. Should I start?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so if someone is not here, I'll blame it on you.
Your biggest fans are here.
Okay, thank you very much for coming. I do appreciate it. So this morning when I got up, one of the things I always do, I try to do this every day, is I look at my last class. In other words, each class that I teach, and I teach several, I look at what I said before, so I know where I'm going. And for better or for worse, we did 4 classes already, 2 weeks. We did the Chumash. Our topic is Friday, the 5th of Sivan. What happened the day before the Torah was given? The way I'm framing it is that it was the day the Jewish people were converted. There was the Giyur, the gators of the Jewish people happened the day before God gave us the Torah. We went through the process of conversion. And in fact, the laws of gators today, the laws of conversion today, we learn from that. Meaning every single Jew in the world went through conversion. But the thing about conversion is once you convert yourself, and of course we're talking about women, because the Jewish genealogy is matrilineal. You are binding yourself and your children and your grandchildren till the end of time. I'd say Kol is, but every Jew had to be converted. And the conversion involved, like we discussed last week, from the text where the Chumash was Bris Milah, but they had done that in Mitzrayim because they couldn't mean the Korban Pesach unless they had a Bris Milah, that means circumcision. And then on the Friday before the Torah was given, there was a korban brought. There was blood sprinkled on the people from those korbanos. And the Rashi brings from the Gemara, Ein Hazoya B'li Tefillah. Any time there's an occasion where you read about a mitzvah or a halacha or an event where blood is sprinkled on people that for sure before went to the mikvah, which is the Eden of mikvah. Then of course you have Nasa V'nishma, which is the acceptance of mitzvahs. So Gerus comprehensively has 4 parts. You have to do this, you have to go to the mikvah, you have to say now, you have to accept to be a Jew for yourself and for your children until the end of time, and you have to bring about a sacrifice. The Ramban Nachmanides, and I have classes on my website that juxtapose this. He has a whole different version of the sequence of events. The Ramban Nachmanides holds that the gators of the Jewish people happened after the Torah was given, not before. And he holds that Pashas Yisrael and Mishpatim are in order. But we're not going like the Ramban, we're not following Nachmanides, we're following Rashi. Right? Yitzchaki. Yitzchaki, Rashi. His father's name was Yitzchak. And according to Rashi's version, the story of the conversion of the Jewish people happened on Friday, the 5th of Sivan. So, of course, the most overarching observation that anybody would make is that the Torah is not written in order. In Pashas Yisrael, you read the entire story of the Hashem giving us the Torah, what happened on Monday, what happened on Tuesday, what happened on Wednesday, what happened on Thursday. and you skip to Shabbos. Friday is in the next parsha, Mishpatim, you read about what happened on Friday, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, and Friday, and then going into Shabbos. And in the Sikha, which we're going to be learning, and I hope to start it today, the issue that the Rebbe is going to raise is why is the Torah not written in a chronological order? Why is it written in such a way that most of the account of Hashem giving us the Torah is in one place, and just, in quotes, just. Some of the account of Hashem giving us the Torah is in a different parsha, and you have to move it around to make it chronological, as I did on that stack that I gave you. And the question is why, and you'll see it Mitzvah Hashem soon. But I want to do myself a personal favor, because I like myself very, very, very much, okay? What you have in front of you is in Hebrew, and I apologize that I don't have English translation, I don't have notes, is the first two halachas, the first two laws of chapter 13 of the laws of Isurei Bia. I don't know how you translate Isurei Bia in English. It prohibited intimacies, I don't know how you translate it. But Isurei Bia is all the halachas of what's allowed and disallowed in terms of marital things, right? The first 10 parakim of Isurei Bia is all the halachas of Nida. And really, much of it is not Nida, it's really halachas of Zola. I'm just giving an idea. Then you have a whole series of parakim that talk about all kinds of things. We talk about this status of a kohen, and who a kohen is now allowed to marry. So on. You talk about the status of a ger tzedek. And in the Isurei Bia, you go through all different statuses of Jewish people and their possibilities for marriage. That's what the Isurei Bia is about. But one of the many issues which is raised is the union of Gedus, of conversion. And the Gedus that we're going to read now in the Rambam is the Chumash that we learned last week and the week before. So I want to read the Rambam with you. And by the way, this is based on the Gemara. So we're going to read it inside. Okay, there's a hard time with the Hebrew. I apologize, and I hope it's not going to take too long, although with us you never know. Okay, B'shloisha devarim, with three things. Nichnesu Yisrael libris mil. With three things, the Jewish people entered into. No, I said that wrong. B'shloisha devarim nichnesu Yisrael libris. With three things, the Jewish people entered with their covenant with God. Covenant means a pact. Covenant means a deal. But a covenant means a pact and a deal that has one basic limitation. It cannot be overturned. It's a blood oath. It's a blood oath. It has to be this way, and it cannot be any other way. That's what bris is, the blood oath. It can't be any other way. Jews and God Almighty made a covenant, a bris. Okay, now the problem is our covenants are limited to our lives, but Hashem's covenant is limited to his life. And last time I checked, he's going to be around for a very, very long time. Right? He doesn't even exist in time altogether. And therefore, a pact, a covenant with God Almighty, a covenant with the Eibishter is a particularly earnest thing. So the Rambam writes, there were three rituals that we did that defined the covenant. Now, I told you four. Correct? You'll see in a minute why. Number one, B'milah. You can't be a Jew and be a man unless you have been circumcised, circumcision. And I just want to say to you, now this is important. It's important to know this, even though, people don't always feel it, okay? The Gemara says, Isha keman de mehila damya. A Jewish woman is not missing conversion, circumcision. She's already circumcised. And this has mystical ramification, and it also has halachic ramification. There's a category in halacha called an adol. An adol means an uncircumcised person. So let's say a person says, I'm making a neder, I'm not going to have any pleasure from an adol. So the halacha is muter b'arei Yisrael v'asor b'arei Yaakov. When he says, I'm not going to have any enough of people uncircumcised, he's a lot of enough from a Jew who, for whatever reason, doesn't have this. And he's not allowed to have enough from a non-Jew who, for whatever reason, does have this. Because there's a presumption that an adol is a non-Jew and a mahol is a Jew, even though some Jews don't have a circumcision and some goyim do. But included in that neder would be Jewish women. A Jewish woman is considered mahol, circumcised, even though there's no bris, physical bris, and a non-Jewish woman is considered an arela. This is just the way the halacha is. Okay, this is a Gemara. I don't know if they bring a pasuk to support it, but this is the position of Gemara and halacha that Isha command a Jewish woman is not the pshat. She's missing a bris. She has a bris. She's born with the bris in place. That's how the Gemara brings. That's how the halacha is. And I'll give you an interesting nafkamina, interesting difference which comes down to the Jewish custom. Okay. The way the Jewish custom works is that a Jewish boy gets his name after his bris. So the boy is given a name when he's 8 days old. If things are normal, there are cases where this, of course, is changed, but the normal conditions, the bris has to wait till the 8th day, and if it's the child is not able to have a bris on the 8th day for whatever reasons, it's delayed. But the child is not given a name till after the bris. What about girls? How do you name girls? So there are Jewish communities, Hasidic communities, other communities who say that you have to wait 8 days. Just like for a boy, you have to wait 8 days, and then you do the bris and you give the child a name. So for a Jewish girl, although there's no bris, you have to wait 8 days. That is not our custom. Our custom is you can give a girl a name on the day she's born. Why? Because the reason for delaying the giving of the name has to do with the bris, and the girl has a bris. The moment she's born, she doesn't have to wait 8 days. This is an aspect which comes down to custom, but this is important to understand that Torah doesn't see women as missing the bris. They're born with the bris. Bris is considered, the Chumash says, bris b'fsarchem, the covenant between God and the Jewish people of circumcision is carved into our body. There's a physical mark that we have a special relationship with the Eibishter, which is the bris milah. Torah says every Jewish woman has that bris, even though she was not, there's no physical mark that you and I can see. According to Torah, a Jewish woman is different than a non-Jewish woman, although there's no physical evidence. The Jewish woman is considered circumcised. That's what the Gemara says, and that's what the halacha is. Now, how does that play out? The honest truth is, I'm not prepared to talk about it because I didn't look it up. But it's just, to me, it's important to say, and I think it's important ultimately to feel. Go ahead.
So you're saying a non-Jewish woman is she also considered circumcised? No. Okay.
No. And when a Giyayis becomes a Gay Tzedek, she's converted, she automatically has a bris. Now, what does it mean? The whole idea of the bris is to be a mark in the goof, and here there's no mark. This is what halacha says. The Torah says, and halacha says, this has to be explained practically, it has to be explained philosophically, it has to be explained mystically. I'm not prepared to do that. I didn't research this. You understand what I'm saying? But it's still true. Whether I can teach it or not, it's an emes, and it has to be pointed out. So the first requisite to being a Jew is a bris milah. And it's dafka in the goof, right? It says in Chumash, Hashem says to Avram, I'm going to make a mark in your body, your physical body, that's going to separate you from non-Jews. Number two, tefillah, to go to the mikveh. Oh, I'm sorry. Before you came, you know what they said? All my biggest fans are here already. And I didn't argue with them, but I crossed my fingers when I said, okay. I'm not going to tell you said. I'm not going to tell you said.
Not only.
Okay, and number three, carbon. To go to the mikveh, and you also have to bring a carbon. Now, it so happened for those who learn Rambam, you guys learn Sefer HaMitzvahs, I'm assuming, the laws of mikveh we learned just a few days ago. Everything moves so fast. 5 days ago, I think, or 6 days, last Shabbos, we were finishing the laws of mikveh. But there's different kinds of mikveh, right? There's a mikveh for which is a well, fresh mayim chayim, which is needed for certain things. There's a mikveh of rainwater, all kinds of mikvahs. The mikveh that is necessary for a gerus is a regular mikveh. It doesn't have to be one of those exotic, really fancy schmancy ones. The same mikveh which is good for nida and for other things, for keri, is good for gerus. And no people carbon and sacrifice. Now, what's missing here? What's missing here? Nasa v'nishma. What's missing is the commitment. Now, why isn't it written? Why isn't it written? Now, the Rambam talks about it. Later on in this chapter, the Rambam talks about the specific requirements of acceptance that you have to accept. There's two ways to answer that question. One is that Rambam lists rituals and not just words. The Rambam is speaking about things that we do, not things that we say. So since Nasa v'nishma, since the commitment to Judaism is just words, it doesn't include it. And like I said, later on in this chapter 13, you're welcome to look it up in the book of History Biyah. The Rambam goes into what the halachas are of accepting mitzvahs. But there's another way to answer the question.
Why?
If a person comes and I want to become a Jew, how do I do it? You have to assume that those words include, I'm already committed. So you can either say it doesn't include it because it's only words, Or you can say it doesn't include it because it's self-understood. If you don't want to be Jewish, you're not going to do a bris, you're not going to bring karbanos, you're not going to go to the mikveh. So it's self-understood. Now, which the Rambam intends here, I don't know, but it's just interesting that the Rambam only lists the three ma'asim, the three actions that you need to do to become a Geiris, or a Geir does not include the Nasa Benishma. Can you put away your phone, please? Mila, number one. Mila. The first requirement that, do you have one of these? Yeah. The first requirement that a Jew has in order to be considered Jewish is the Mila. Says the Rambam, Hoysa, the Mitzrayim, this happened in Egypt. In other words, 50 days before our conversion took place, on the Friday, before the Abish gave us the Torah, we already brought this Mila. Because it says in Chumash about Karban Pesach, about the Pascal offering. I don't know what Pascal is, don't worry about it, I don't know either. The Karban Pesach, it's called auto, that a person is an auto, a person is uncircumcised, and they eat the Karban Pesach, and it's a very unusual Allah. When it comes to call auto, what Allah call if anybody in your house is missing your bris, nobody in that house can be a Karban Pesach.
Right, bring it or eat it.
No. Yeah, that if a person has a household with many people, if one person in that household is an auto, the owner of the house cannot be in Basement either, because he has to make sure that everybody in his home has the bris before you do cut and paste. And therefore, Mal Oisa Moshe Rabbeinu did a mass circumcision of the Jewish people in Egypt in the days leading up to the cut and paste that was brought that year, because Kulam Bitlu Bris Mila. The Mitzrayim, they all stopped doing circumcision while they were in Egypt, except for the tribe of Levi. This is considered bad. Abraham was given a mitzvah of bris. Right now, you know, or you don't know, that the Jewish people, the descendants of Abraham, Yitzchak and Yaakov, were not considered Jews. Even the 12 tribes, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehudi, Issachar, Zebulun, God, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, and even Yosef, and Binyamin were considered Bnei Neah. The 12 Shvatim are not considered Jews. Abraham and Sarah are, Yitzchak and Rivka are, Yaakov and Leah and Rachel and Bilhah and Zilpah, I don't know, are, but their children are considered Bnei Neah. And there's all kinds of ramifications of that. But the mitzvahs that were given specifically to Abraham, they have to keep. So Abraham was given the mitzvah of this milah, so they had to keep it. Yitzchak was given the mitzvah of Maisis. I told this to you in a recent class, which is given a tithe, you have to keep it. Yaakov Avinu was given the mitzvah of Gid Nasha, of not eating the sciatic nerve. You didn't have to keep it. And then, of course, in Mitzrayim, they had other mitzvahs and more of it. As the Eibush gave us the mitzvahs, we became obligated to keep it. One of the few mitzvahs they didn't have when they were still in Egypt, even though they had a dinner, Benayah, was Bris Milah. They didn't do it, they neglected it. Except for Shevet Levi. It is considered a terrible aveda. And he brings the pasuk, the Aldei Nemar, regarding this, the pasuk says, Uvrischa Yinteru, that Shevet Levi guarded the bris. Shevet Levi was the only one of the 12 tribes who in Egypt, under the worst conditions, they circumcised their children. So let's pause for a moment. Let's talk about this, okay? Today there's a whole controversy about this. Everything is a controversy because everyone wants to rewrite everything. Everybody knows better. We're all smarter and kinder and more gentle and more pluralistic than our ancestors, and we're going to fix the world. We're totally out of our cotton picking mind. We think so little before we change everything. We don't have any sense, no vision, not of our past, not of our present, not of our future. But we live in an age where every whack job is going to show out he's going to be nicer than the next guy. You understand? One day they didn't tell us you can't even eat lettuce. You can only eat salt and water because lettuce is living and you're murdering the lettuce. Then they said can't drink water because the water is a parasite, folks. When you drink the water, maybe one of those bugs will die in your kishkis. Even the bug is so small, it comes out the same way. We're out of our minds. Everybody's rewriting the video. Everyone's rewriting a new title. Everyone is so smart. And one of the aspects of that smartness is that it was decided that this meal is barbaric. And by the way, there's places in Europe that they don't allow shkita. Unbelievable.
It's not Ireland.
I think one of the it could be. But this I'm kinder than God. You know, I'm more religious than the Abish. The Bible is not good enough. I'm going to be better. It's childish. It's not thought through. It's not. People come along and they're socially engineering the world. I was sitting in an airplane next to a non-Jew, and yet this generation is the guinea pigs. Everyone's practicing. Everyone's deciding what really. How do I prove I'm the nicest person in the world? I'm going to make laws. I'm gonna be nice to this person, I'm gonna hurt not only everybody else, I'm gonna hurt this person also, but I mean well. So one of the latest shtick is that you have to speak out against this meal. And when you mess with this meal, you're messing with the Eibishter on a level where you don't like it. This is an interesting thing, because the truth of the matter is, it is a hard mitzvah to do. You know, if you're a mother, this meal, 8-day-old baby, they come so small, you put in your hand. And it's an amazing thing. Now, what's amazing about this meal is, you would think, you would think, that if a Jew is going to decide which mitzvah he's not going to keep, the first mitzvah he would stop keeping is this meal. And the fact of life is, the Jews who do nothing else, even don't make a Pesach Seder, and even to go to temple in Kippur, make of this. This is one of those things that Jews do in great numbers. Again, I'm sure there's today some conscientious objectors, some of these really, really, really kind people who think that they're smarter and kinder and gentler than anybody who ever came before them, and they're going to fix the world with their emotions and 15 minutes of thought. They don't think anything through. They take no responsibility for what they're saying and what they're doing and how they're changing the world. And when it all blows up 50 years later, they just say, well, we meant well. Our heart was in the right place. It's not enough. That's a responsibility for you're changing the whole world. You're teaching children to be confused about who they are and their identity because you're being a nice person. Really? And then in 50 years today, when the kids are all nuts, they well, we tried. We were trying to make a better world. We were trying, yeah. Learn from your elders. Instead of trying to change things, do what the tradition is. We have a Torah. It teaches us morality and ethics. Follow the Torah. Don't make a new one. You think it's easy to write a Bible? Everyone thinks the Bible is a fairy tale. You want to write a Bible? You have to follow the Amish to say they can't make up a new one. Morality is a very, very balanced thing. And God's smarter than all of us. And He gave us a Torah, which is the basis for our existence, because it's the blueprint of the creation. And we listen to the Torah, we're on the right track. And we start to get more religious than God. God's not nice enough. We're going to be nicer than Him. We end up in a sewer, which is where we are right now, unfortunately. And one of the places where this plays out is in the objection to this Mila. Anyway, now that I've ranted and raved and got all my pain out, so now I'm here for the next 15 minutes. And then I'll have to rant and rave again. It's interesting and compelling. All the mitzvahs in the Torah, the mitzvahs, more Jewish people think of this. Now, some of them don't want to use a moil, they want to use a doctor, but they do it, but it's not the greatest story in the world. I know a man, a Lubavitcher, fine man, who does brisses. But one of his specialties is he does brisses for Jews who don't want to see any Orthodox Jews, or it's terrible. There's different kinds of Orthodox people who don't want to be Orthodox Jews, and one of the most significant groups of people who hate from Jews are people who grew up from, even Lubavitch. We know that. We know that there's percentage of our children, they leave Yiddishkeit and they're angry. They have a lot of pain, whatever reasons, and they resent us. They resent their way of life, and they resent everything about us. There was a little girl, both from Lubavitch homes, living in the city. He wasn't interested in the bris at all. She wanted to do a bris, and he insisted that they should do they had their first child. They do by a doctor, not chas v'shalom by the mother. So they went to the pediatrician for the first visit. When the baby is born, within days of the birth, they take the baby to the pediatrician. The pediatrician was a guy in the city. Says to them, "Are you planning to do a brit?" He said, "Really, I'm not interested. My wife wants." And he says, "The doctors are you using a mole or a doctor?" And the guy says, "Of course, a doctor." So the doctor tells him, the mole do it better. The mole do it better. So this kid had a kosher bris, and this rabbi, this person, my friend, was the one who did the bris, and he told me this whole story. That the goyish doctor advocated, if you want to do a bris correctly, get a mole. The mole do it better than the doctor. Actually happened. But it's compelling to me very much. That didn't, more than any other mitzvah, the mitzvah that didn't keep is the Bizani, this mitzvah. It would make sense that should be the first thing that we should stop, but in reality, it's not that way. And there's a reason for it. Because it's the covenant. In other words, there are things in a Jew that are so deep that he knows or she knows that he or she needs to know, even if there's no conscious awareness. In fact, if every ounce of consciousness says, I hate Judaism and everything about it, the subconscious in this case, this one case, is stronger. It's just not, I guess they got it. I'm not doing anything else. The Chman Rutani can marry a guy, but a bris you have to have, because it goes so deep. And I'm going to give you another example of this. Shabbos. Why are there 7 days in a week? That's a question. There's 7 days in a week in Europe, there's 7 days in a week in America, there's 7 days in a week in Australia, there's 7 days in a week in Israel, there's 7 days in a week in Africa, there's 7 days in a week in Asia, 7 days in a week in Australia. Why? Who decided the length of the week? There's really only one answer. Because Hashem created the world in 6 days, and the seventh day he rested. Now, don't misunderstand. Historically, there have been many communities of people who tried to change the length of the week. Someone can make it longer, someone can make it shorter. Never works. It always falls back on 7 days. You know, young lady, why don't you finish your business and then come? It never works. It always comes back to 7 days. There's no logical explanation for a week of 7 days. None. Because this is an example where God's mastery over the world is seen in the nature of the world, not in the physical nature, in the sociological nature. 7 days in a week is only based on faith. In other words, a lot of things that people can deny, that a lot of people cannot do, a lot of people can fight against. Some things are so deep, they're part of the core of our existence. Shabbos is not Jewish, it's universal. Keeping Shabbos is Jewish, but a 7 day week has to do with creation. And it's so deep that as many times as people try historically to change the length of the days of the week, it falls back to 7. And in the case which is distinctly Jewish, it's bris. Yidden, by and large, do the bris. And in Mitzrayim, the Jews did not do the bris. And Moshe Rabbeinu therefore do a mass circumcision of the Jewish people, with the exception of Shevet Levi, that the Rambam brings the word Ubris instead of the tribe of Levi, guarded the bris. They never stopped doing the bris. Now, I want to say 2 more things, and then I'll let you speak. Number 1, in the Midbar, in the desert, the Jews again did not keep this milah. The 40 years that they were in the Midbar, they stopped keeping this milah, again, except for Shevet Levi. Now, the reason they were able to get away with it is because in the Midbar there was no Korban Pesach. They brought a Korban Pesach once in the week, which is the story of Pesach Sheni in Pashas Baalei. They did it only once. After that, for the next 38 years, there was no Korban Pesach, and it's considered a liability. The Yidden were not commanded by Hashem, but they didn't ask Hashem of the Yidden. The Korban Pesach mandates of it. You can't, other Korbanos you can bring when you're an adult, or whatever, it can be worked for you, maybe. Korban Pesach can't bring other when you're an adult, and there was no Korban Pesach for the entire 40 years. You didn't cross the Yarden. The Jewish people crossed the Jordan. I get out, listen. You didn't listen, get off this. I like to say it off this. And then, of course, the other side, Hashem said you have to bring a Korban Pesach. And Yeshua again made a mass circumcision. This will give us Ha'aredim. The entire mound of Ha'aredim was created. Was it hundreds of thousands of men and boys who, for the 40 years in the Midbar, did not have a bris. And when they came in Eretz Yisrael, they were circumcised. That actually brings a medical reason that in the desert it's dangerous to do a bris because the body doesn't heal as well, whatever the particulars are. But Jews have done bris milah in pretty crazy situations. But this is another example. In Egypt, the Jews did not do the bris. The right point, except for Shevet Levi, Moshe Rabbeinu did a mass circumcision so they could bring a Korban Pesach. And then the Midbar, they did not do a bris. So when Yeshua brought the Jewish people to the Holy Land, they did the bris again. To bring again the Korban Pesach that year, 2449. Now, 2488. Now, there's another side to that coin. And the other side to that coin is equally important. There was a man named Eliyahu Hanavi. You may have heard of him. Elijah the prophet. He was an incredibly holy man. So close to God, you have no idea. No other human being has the distinction of going up into heaven with his guf. Eliyahu Hanavi went up to heaven with his body, but it's Ora Hashamayim. He's in a category by himself. So Eliyahu Hanavi presided with the Navi, with the prophet of the Jewish people during the reign of the family of Omri, who were particularly sinful. And Yoanavi was a kanoi. What a kanoi means? He was a zealot.
Oh,
He
yeah,
was
we're
very
not-
critical of Yoda. And he couldn't find a way of seeing the good in these people. So he screamed, Kane Kanesi by the Shev of the so I'm screaming out against all these sinners. And he condemned them. Now, before I finish the thought, I just want to tell you, Allah, he went up to heaven in the chariot of fire. Who took his place? Elisha. Elisha was another for many years, maybe 65 years. He was the cloud, Elisha was very long time. Elisha was very different than Elisha was not forgiving of the Israeli in Israel, but Elisha never hated them. Yorav was angry at them for being Eliyahu God, and he screamed, "Can these are bad people, these are bad people, they punish us, and Elisha, they were Eliyahu Zara, but they loved the Rebbe. That's what the situation was. Elisha was very comfortable in Shemer, in Yisrael, in the kingdom of the Jews. They were never very different than Eliyahu. And as Lubavitch Chassidim, we relate to Elisha more than we relate to Eliyahu. But Eliyahu was the greatest people ever lived. He's in the class by himself, But one of the famous details of Eliyahu Navi's story is that he told God, that the Jewish people violated the bris. They broke the covenant. They stopped taking this anymore. He screams to the Abishter of how bad the Jews are and how much he's suffering and how much the time of the Abishter to punish them. And one of the things he says, they stopped keeping the bris. They killed your prophets. They worship idols. And they broke your covenant. So it says in his Cheshvan that Eliyahu Navi was punished for saying that the Jews don't keep the bris. And what kind of Jews are we talking about? We're talking about the worst pagans in the world. Eliyahu Navi has to come to every bris. You think he's coming to every bris because he wants to help them all. Eliyahu Navi comes to the bris to watch how a Jew who may not keep Shabbos and may not keep kosher and may not even the Rahman al keep Taz and Mishpacha during the bris. Don't say that my children don't keep the bris. That's why Eliyahu comes. Eliyahu comes to be witness that what he said about Yidden is not true. In Mitzrayim, they didn't keep the bris. In the Midbar, they didn't keep the bris. But when the Jewish nation came into Israel, the worst, the worst, they kept this mitzvah. And it says in Hilchos Svarim, and again, I'm not prepared to talk about the length, I didn't look up the stuff, but there's 3 madreges of Shmiras Havitz. There's 3 levels that are very high and holy. But the first level of Shmiras Havitz means kosher physically doing the bris. It says in Svarim that all Jews are Shemer Havitz. All Jews guard the bris, even though in Kabbalah, the way they explain guarding the bris, it's a very high level. But it says in Svarim, including in Kabbalah Svarim, all Yidden keep the bris, because there's 3 levels of Shmiras Havitz, there's 3 levels of it. And that first level, there's that a Jew who was out on a bris. Yidden were not from at all. They make a bris. They don't even know why. They mamish do not even know why. We enter it because this is to the Jewish people, but a 7-day week is for human beings. It's in the hard drive, part of our core, part of our essence. And when a Yid goes through conversion, you have to make a bris. It's a mark of you. Question, someone have a question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have 2. One, it's just like on the sheet, the end of the second line. What does it mean? Like I missed the translation. Mo some.
Moshe Rabbeinu circumcised them, did Moshe Rabbeinu. That's a word for word translation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then also, I was like, Shevet Levi, were they able to do the birth with like the Minbar? Weren't they not slaves like the rest of everybody else?
In Egypt.
Yeah.
First of all, they were.
Oh, and
They were not slaves. They were free to learn Torah. But they didn't do the bris because they suffered less. They did the bris because they were conscientious. And in the Midbar, nobody was slaves. The Jews didn't do it because they were afraid of the healing wasn't right. There was the wrong kind of air. They were afraid. And Shevet Levi said, "Hashem said to make a bris, they make a bris."
oh, this is after they were slaves. This is just when they
In the desert, and they left Egypt.
yeah. Sorry.
When you read the question, maybe you can there.
It says in Rashi that there was one tribe that did not have to do slavery. That was Shevet Levi. They were the clergy. They were the religious people. They were able to learn David, but they're doing the bris is not because they were not physically doing slavery, it's because they were conscientious about serving Hashem.
Rabbi Paltiel, next time to explain about 3 levels of Shmirat Sabrit.
I don't remember them. If I remember them, I don't remember them. But it says every year keeps the first level. So don't say, Eliyahu Hanavi is told by Hashem, don't you say about my children that they don't keep the covenant. It's interesting. Why? They're not from at all. The bris. Do not say a yid doesn't do the bris. Don't say Hashem said, Eliyahu, you're going to come to every bris. You're going to be a witness that you didn't think of this.
Alright, but they didn't say, they notified the birth expected in Egypt outside of Shevet Levi.
They neglected it, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was then.
I mean,
That was before the Jewish nation was born. That's the whole point. What I'm doing is contrast. Then they neglected it.
okay.
And now we don't neglect it.
But I'm sorry, I'm just saying it's stuff that if it's the Mitzrayim or the Nifal, it's in Egypt, right?
It's the river.
Okay.
The Jews neglected the bris happened twice. In Egypt,
Oh,
and then they all had a bris, so they be the first one Pesach. And then in the midbar again, and they go to it, it's waited 40 years to get the next one Pesach, and then they circumcise them again by Yeshua.
okay.
You will. Number 2, Utvila and Mitzvah. Harisa ba midbar kedem adatega. The Jews ought to go to the mikveh in the midbar before they got to Torah. You should never, as the pasuk says, "V'kidashtem ayim u'machar." You can make them a holy day tomorrow. The chibutz to symbolize and have to wash their clothing. Washing their clothing means that not only they have to go to the mikveh, but their clothing also has to get in there. They call it halacha kedem. Their kedem, everything has a table in the mikveh before they get a table in the age. Now, of course, tailing in a mikveh is a purification. And it says in Sfarim that the Hebrew word tevila, tes, beis, yud, lamed, hey, is the same letter as the word habdikin. Immersion in a mikveh is humbling. Why? Because your whole body is surrounded by the water. There are only 2 mitzvahs that your whole body does. Mikveh and sukkah. When you sit in the sukkah, your whole body is surrounded by the sukkah. You know halachically it's enough nation to do. You have your thoughts.
What about living as well?
Okay, is there one of the 613?
Not the same.
Is there one of the 613? Okay. Okay, not for now. But that's a good point. But the other one is mikveh, because the whole body goes into water, because it's enveloped by the water, and it's considered a tahara. We just learned Tilchas Nefais. I told you this, right? Today I'm learning. You basically give me your dollars of Tilchas Nefais, which means that 6 days ago, last Shabbos and Friday and Thursday, we learned Tilchas Nefais. At the end of the laws of mikveh, the Rambam has a shtickle Muslim. Now, the Rebbe says this a lot. The Rambam wrote a book of laws. Every word in the Rambam is a law. And if Rambam writes something and you think it's just a nice story or a good piece of review, there's a reason it's there, it's a halacha, and the Rebbe would study it and study it and study it, and it would know it's a halacha. There's one exception. At the end of the 14 books, there's 14 books of Rambam. Father, Av, Man, and Noshim, Dushat, Law, and so on. At the end of each sefer, the Rambam gives a little Muslim. And then there's a lesson that's not necessarily a mitzvah, it's not in a relationship. So the book of Tahara, which is quite a book, let me tell you, very exhaustive, ends with Nefais. To the end of Laws of Mikveh, the Rambam gives a little essay, a little speech on what Mikveh means. He says, first of all, the mitzvahs that Hashem gave us are gzeirus. We do not do the mitzvah because we understand the reason. We do the mitzvah because Hashem said. Period. The end. Full stop. We don't do the mitzvah because they make sense to us. We do mitzvah because Hashem gave us the fee to keep them. Nevertheless, you're supposed to try and find reasons for mitzvahs. Number 1, to make the mitzvahs more meaningful to you. That's what the Rambam will hold. And number 2, it'll motivate you to keep the mitzvahs better. Kol she'efshar lo ses leitam, ten leitam, whatever reason you give a reason, you should always remember it. it's not safe time until there's no reason a person is gonna come up with to be the real reason. Because the real reason only God knows, so they're higher than reason, but they have to give the time what you do. The Rambam says, what's the message of the Rambam says there's a metaphor of water. There's clean water and dirty water. What's the difference between clean water and dirty water? Dirty water means ideas that are dirty, that have bad days, and have bad midas, bad character traits, value system and so on. And then you have water which is pure. Pure, clean water indicates, represents, it reflects value that the midas status, good character traits, and deus mechenes correct value. Now we use 3 words, not 2. Use 3 words. The first word is midas, second word is deus, the third word is eitzes. And I don't know what eitzes means, but he uses 3 words to indicate the idea that a person can choose a philosophy of life with good values, and a person can choose a philosophy of life with poor values. And the idea of tabling in the mikveh is it's mayim tahelim, it's pure water. And immersion in the mikveh is called tabling the mei hadas hatorah, in the waters of knowledge that are pure. And it purifies not just your body, it purifies your mind. That you should have midas, tables, good character. Deus mechenes proper value of the philosophy of life, and eitzes and good schemes in living your life, which are consistent with the will of God. So there's an emes in mikveh. The clean water, not the water that will make by pure water, represents clean ideas that purify a person. That's sort of a reason in quotation why when you become a Jew, you have to go to the.
Where did they find?
I can't hear you.
Where did they find Midbar
The Midbar. They had a Be'eda Shalmiyah, right? It was left over. All you gotta do is dig a hole. And the waters of Miriam's well went into that hole. It's Mayim Chaim. Okay? And it continues, the color. And the third thing is they have to bring also a sacrifice. Shener, that's in the pasuk. And girls, we read this pasuk last week in this classroom. Yishlach Asnare b'nei Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu sent the youth of the Jewish people. The youth means the firstborn. And they were the priests. Before the Chet HaEgel, before the sin of the golden calf, the priests were the firstborn. Also shlomim. Offerings that are consumed entirely by the Mezbech and peace offering. L'poil the halacha of a carbon and a gate is only oil, not shlomim. But Yidden, when they did their carbon, did oil and shlomim. Hayedei is called Yisrael l'kneim. Although a handful of priests brought these carbonas, they brought them as a representation of the entire Jewish world. So before the Jewish world was convert, they have to bring carbonas collected. Questions or comments?
Do you have a chaser for your coffee?
And liquid water. It's not just a chaser. The coffee makes me nervous. I need the coffee to stay awake. I have a friend who's very into health. He's always making fun of me. I get nervous easy. And I work with him. You drink a cup of water. And it calms me down. It does. It's like putting water in a carburetor. If the car overheats. And the person wants to calm down. He drink a cup of water. I know. He drink a cup of water. He makes fun of me. Drink a cup of water. And it works. So this, if I drink enough of these, I get crazy. Okay. Go ahead.
If all the Jews were converted, so where we got this law that if even one person from the family is not, if you have a breed, so the whole family can drink the carbon breed.
It doesn't make them not Jewish. Carbon basic has special rules.
Okay, but if everyone was converted, why do we have the Jew about the Jews like that? If everyone was converted, there's no.
Sometimes the person can have a risk because it's dangerous. It's a con.
And it's not exempt.
Right? They're not exempt. They're not allowed to become basic. If there's a family where they brought a bris on a child and the child passed away, and they brought a bris on a child passed away, the remaining children are not allowed to circumcise.
Not fair.
Huh?
Not fair.
Oh, welcome to the world.
Thank you.
You should live in the Paltiel household. You will get the brainwashing. Fairness ends in kindergarten if you're lucky. Fairness is the biggest lie in the world. Fairness, the people who are fighting for fairness are fighting for an idea which is only gonna hurt. There's no fairness to it. It's not meant to be fair. It's not meant, in one place. The people who are the bleeding hearts, when they make everybody equal, they say we can't make everybody the same. Unless you make it to a vegetable, then we'll do the same. Your fairness, you're right, it is not fair. And the fact that Hashem chose the Jewish people is, that Hashem chose Koyanim, it's not fair, you're absolutely, it isn't. It isn't, the Abish has a different role for each person, and this idea of making everybody the same, which is such a cool idea in the world today, it's stupid. It's nothing wrong, it's silly. What happens in a world where there's no rich people and no poor people? I'll tell you, there's starving people. Because that's how the world works. Ambition, competition, jealousy are good things. They're bad midas, but they're good. Because the people are motivated. If I can make more money, I'll give you a job. But if you're gonna take my money away from you, why should I work hard and give you a job? So nobody eats, but we're nice. You understand? The communist system is much nicer, much fairer than the capitalist system. And the communist system is 1,000 times more cruel than the capitalist system. Why? Because they're trying to be fair. When you try to be fair, you end up with corruption. You understand? You're right, it isn't. It's absolutely not. You're right, correct. I gave another rant. You see, every 50 minutes, I gotta let my gas kid come.
What was the halacha you said that if there's a baby that passes away from breast milk, then the rest of their children
Twice.
are allowed?
They're not allowed to do this, man.
What do you mean by twice?
2 sons.
Oh, 2 sons that pass, just from breast milk or just plain pass
No,
away?
from Miss Mila, from the baby.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't know how they work today. I mean, we know medicine has changed our understanding of the body. Halacha has rules about things that doctors will argue today we quote unquote know more than the Torah. But it doesn't work that way. You have to follow halacha. You have to follow halacha even if medicine has other explanations for things. It gets complicated. But yeah, if 2 children die from this, you cannot do this and many children, so at least till they grow up. So that family can't bring a carbon Pesach, even though INMF is not my fault, right? You know what INMF's last name is? BIMP, but it's my problem. It's not my fault, but it's my problem. And then comes TL, that's life. Okay, so the conversion of the Jewish people involved Milah, Tvila, and Karma. And like I said, they brought Oilis and Shlomim, they brought peace offerings also. We don't bring only a covenant. Tvila means Nick. Okay. Halacha base. The Chain L'Doira is the same, applies forever. There's a Yetzer HaGoy, the Ram doesn't use the word gay, uses the word God. When a non-Jew wishes, the economics of this to enter into the covenant with the Jewish people, will stay for Tachas Kanfe Shechina and to shade himself under the wings of the Shechina, of the manifest presence of Hashem, as a Jew. And let's of course insert, he doesn't need to do that. A non-Jew can be so close to Hashem that he can reach the madrega of prophecy. A non-Jew can be so close to Hashem that he has eternal life as a chelik and elam haba. There's more than one path. Judaism is a special path. And the real reason a non-Jew converts to Judaism is because, quote unquote, he feels Jewish, meaning he or she feels that their religious life as non-Jews is not enough. They need more. But a non-Jew can have a deep relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, according to Judaism. If a guy keep the Sheva mitzvahs b'nei ne'ach, because they were given with Eivisha at Sinai, and he's a righteous first, he has a chelik in Haba. And if he lives a life of precious, if he chooses a life of holiness and prestigious, he can reach the madrega of Nevuah. The Rambam writes, a non-Jew who separates himself from Havli Ha'olam is holier than the Kohen Gadol. A goy. So you don't have to become a Jew according to Torah to have a relationship with the Eibush. Okay, but if he chooses, and again, ideally, the reason a person converts to Judaism is because they feel like the Sheva mitzvahs are not sufficient to them. Gatus is a very complicated thing. You know why Gatus is a complicated thing? Because Gatus involves a very complicated phenomenon called people. And people are such a mess, people can figure themselves out. But Davis is tricky. You don't have to be a gay tzedek according to Judaism to have a Jewish relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But if a person chooses to do no, says the Rambam tzorich milah, have this meal, with the veal and to go to the mikveh and immerse himself. But to his carbon, he has to present himself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the carbon which makes him ratzon. He's showing favor. Ratzon means showing favoritism to Hashem, that Hashem show favoritism to him. The if they came and if it's a woman without a man, not without a bris, in other words, three love a carbon. But then she obviously had to do a bris milah, but and I told you before, a non-Jewish woman who becomes a yid through carbon and through milah and through mikveh automatically changes from being considered an odol to being considered a mohel, even though she had no bris. But this is the Isha, Jewish woman, Isha command, I mean, not all women, Jewish women, Isha command the Mehila Dami, that's the law. The Jewish woman is considered a circumcision, and it's Negel Maisa in halach. Let's read. 1 second. Shenema, the Apostle says, Kochem Kageh. Kochem, the same rules that apply to you, apply to a convert. And the Rambam explains, Ma atem, just like your identity as Jews involve Mila, Tvila, Natsas, Korban, you have to circumcise yourself, and you have to immerse yourself in the culture of mikveh, and you have to show favoritism and be favored by Hashem through bringing a korban. The same applies to any convert for all times. If he wants to join the Jewish people, if he wants a relationship with Hashem, but as a Jew doctor, which is not a necessity, it's b'mila or tvila v'atzah. It's through circumcision and through immersion in the mikvah and presenting a carbon to show favoritism to the Eibush and so forth and so forth. Go ahead, talk to me, young lady. What's your first name? Lee. What's her name? Lee Miriam. Moiria. Lee Moiria. And Lee is Hebrew or English or French or Portuguese? So what are the word meaning to me? Lee Moiria. My name is Jason. Yes, right. The name is Jason Yitzchak. Jason Yitzchak.
Anyways, what's the difference between yeah and yesterday?
Nothing.
Oh. So why would we say yeah and yesterday?
Because we're not always careful. You should say get headed.
Real.
Because besides get headed, it's something called get headed.
Yeah, that right.
A get teshuv means a non-Jew who accepts the 7 mitzvahs and doesn't go through the Torah. And according to halacha, at least the way I attended my Rambam, a get teshuv is considered the beginning of it. The person, the Lashon Rambam is he stays away from idol worship, but he eats non-kosher. The problem is, and I'm not having a conversation. Today, that half gate is not done. In other words, a person comes to a Jewish rabbi and says, I want to convert to be a Noahide. A Ben Noach. And the way you convert is you commit to keep the Cheshvan mitzvahs because Hashem gave them at Sinai. So there's 3 levels. To keep the 7 mitzvahs, to keep them because Hashem gave them, and to keep them because Hashem gave them at Sinai. So Ger Teshuv, the labels are a little bit confusing. Ger Teshuv and Chassidim and Shayla, but I think they're the same. But a Ger Teshuv means a guy who's actually converted to keep the Cheshvan mitzvahs because the Eibush gave them. But the halach is ein makabel Ger Teshuv is not like that. Nowadays there's no Ger Teshuv. Ger Tzedek there is. But Ger Teshuv, half Gators we don't have. That's the question. For the 100 words of
Like consider red.
Ooh.
Yeah.
we consider less.
I'm not saying
She was talking about fairness before.
Yes, yeah.
The problem with everything in the world is that it involves a weird creature called people, and people are very often idiots. You're right. You're right.
My name wrong.
No, I don't. I have never asked you.
Wow. I feel like 3 times.
Only 3 times.
No fairness in the world.
Hello. I don't want to get distracted with this conversation, if you don't mind. people are full of judgments. They call it racism. What's the word that they use? Phobias, fears. You're afraid of this group, you're afraid of this group. Well, Jews are human beings. And like anybody else, if they don't work on their needs, they're gonna have the same ugliness as anybody else. And it's not just that they look down on gated, look at anybody different than themselves. And it's an avoider. A person doesn't become good because they decide they want to be good, like they tell you in college. A person becomes good because they have to work to overcome their biases. And everybody has biases, even those liberals who say that they're so open-minded that their brains are out of there. Everybody judges. And unfortunately, part of those judgments are that people look down at this one, look down at this one. Just for the record, David Amel. David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayim, his grandfather, Mashiach, great grandmother was a Gileadist. Her name was Rus. She's the prototype of Gilead. If you read the Sefer Rus, you read the way Yiddishkeit views of Gilead. Boya says to her, Hashem should bless you in the Messiah's nefesh that you had to going away from your life of luxury and power and prominence. She was a princess in Moab. To be mistaken with Sila Shabbat. So people have biases, we know. And it doesn't make it tight, doesn't make it true, make people biased. I'm not giving you a long speech on this, it's not the time to this. But there's a letter from that Rambam, the truth said Rambam. The Shnever would quote from time to time. In the times of the Rambam, there was a Avram Ger Tzedek. In the Taisus, there's a Levadi Ger Tzedek. I'm maybe mixing up the names. There's a place of one of the Gerim. The Taisus, the big one of the Gerim, and there's also the letter from the Rambam. Maybe I'm making it. The Rambam would write the Levadi Ger Tzedek. I can look the Tshuva up. He asked the Rambam about in davening saying Elokeinu Elokeinu saying, my God, my father, Rambam got my father, and my father is somebody else. Now, the place where this plays out in Halacha, in Torah, in the mitzvahs, davening is the Rabbanon, the Nutzchat of the Rabbanon is Bikuri. If you bring Kabbalah to the base of Mikdash and you have to thank Hashem for the new food, but you can only thank Hashem for the new food if you own the land. And a Ger does not own anything stuff. Land was divided up amongst the 12 stuff, and the Ger did not have anything other. So maybe they need trade. So the Rambam of Tshuva, we write to a Ger about his status in Allah. So he tells him the rules, what he should say, what he shouldn't say. He's allowed to say, okay, say. But in that Tshuva, the Rambam goes off the handle, explaining what it means to be a Ger. And it's a considerably long letter. In the beginning, he said that every day they were sent to Abraham Avinu. But later on, the letter he writes, you're now the Abraham Avinu, you are descendant of him who spoke and created the world. It's very powerful. The Rambam has a tshuva, where he's explaining to a Ger how he should view himself. You're a child of God Almighty, who wrote for you. The tshuva of the Rambam. So people are just people. Any other questions or comments? So we finished this Rambam now, right? Now it's
5 minutes break.
5 minutes. We'll see how long 5 minutes is, and then we're going to start the sikha that we're going to be doing now. Okay? You're welcome.
Name is Leah.
Leah,
Yeah.
your name is Leah.
Yeah.
I forgot already. What's your name? We missed you the first hour.
Sorry about that.
The whole class was about Javis.
Um,
Sorry. you missed it. It's gonna be online. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. Yes, go. Okay. Can you please give me that? Put one down by layers, but. You ready? Let's go. Every Wednesday, I do this every day, I try to, when I prepare my classes, I look at the classes from the week before, the day before, I teach in different places, but each morning, when I leave my house, I open up my computer and I look what I said last week in each place, to the boys, to the girls, and so. So I have a guide from you from last week.
I thought we got lots of, wow,
Yeah.
I'm very
Yeah, we got one. What was it, what were we talking about last week? But you asked a good question, and I have regards, I forgot what it was. Father mine. Can't remember.
My apologies, I'm just.
Yes, it's nice to have you.
Sorry.
Okay, sure, don't apologize, don't apologize. Shall we? Can we talk about Leah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could, you think? You know her name is Leah. I'll forget them way back. I remember the names of my kids, I'm good. Okay. Okay, Kindalach, ladies and gentlemen. We have a trajectory, been going now for 15 years, about 13 years, 14 years, 15, I don't know how many exactly. We were learning the story, the narrative, not the law, the narrative of the Chumash with Sichos. And every once in a while we'll cheat and bring some other book in because it's certain purposes like that. I'm done with my job brought in. When we're in the mood, we cheat. The rules until we decide to break the rules. And over the foreseeable past, that's a year and a half or two, we're learning the story of the giving of the Torah, which is really the highlight of the whole Chumash. Because the Chumash is a story of Judaism, it's not the story of the world, it's the story of the Jewish people in faith. And because it's so vast, we broke it up into subsections. We had a bunch of classes with a bunch of sichos on the first day of Sivan, which was on a Monday. Then we learned Siddur for a while. Then we had a bunch of classes and a bunch of sichos on the second day of Sivan, which was a Tuesday. Then we learned some Siddur. Yeah. Then we had a bunch of classes and a bunch of sichos. What happened on Wednesday, which was the fourth on Wednesday, which was the third day of Sivan. Then we learned some Siddur. Then we had a bunch of classes on what happened on Thursday, which was the fourth day of Sivan. And then we learned Baruch She'amar. And by the way, this morning's preparation was Baruch She'amar. This doesn't take that long, but I'm preparing for what we're going to do next. I'm working on the Rishonim. Every Wednesday, my preparation time, I get up early. I get up early, but Wednesday, particularly, I get up early. I'm preparing the Siddur classes that we're going to be learning when we finish this bunch of Sichos, which is going to be a while. We're now learning Friday, the 5th of Sivan. It was the day before we got the table. Yesterday, Thursday, the 4th of Sivan, we were given the impossible task of becoming ready to become prophets in 48 hours. That's the story. 48 hours to become a prophet. It took Moshe 80 years, to the Jews 48 hours, but they didn't end the same. You know what I'm saying? It didn't end the same. Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy with Moshe Rabbeinu and the Jewish people, the neshama floated wherever they go, 1 time, 3 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times. And the Moshe Rabbeinu, you know what? We got the message. Let's go back to plan A. Let them go back to their regular life. You be a prophet for them. So as I explained to you, both things are true. The Jews were correct in asking to become prophets initially, and they also were correct for saying it's enough. We can't handle this. Both are true. And Moshe remains the prophet. That negotiation took place on Thursday. It happened on Shabbat, which we're going to see in Mitzvah Hashem next year when we do the actual story of the Aseret Sadiq. The day of Matan Torah. We're learning Friday. Then we're going to learn Baruch She'amar. Then we're going to learn Shabbos. Shabbos, the 6th of Sivan, we actually receive the Torah from Nebuchadnezzar. That's how we're doing this, okay? So we spent the last 2 weeks learning Chumash. And what I did was I prepared a text. I downloaded it from the internet, from whatever organization provides free copies of the Chumash. But I organized it not in the order of the Chumash, but in the order of the days. So the basis for the text is Pashas Yisrael, Pashas Jethro, where you have the basic story of Matan Torah. But I interjected from other places. Number one from Pashas Mishpatim, the Pasha after Yisrael, which describes what happened on Friday, the 5th of Sivan, when the Jewish people were converted. Number two, I added a little bit from Pashas Yisrael, for two different places in Pashas Yisrael, and a big chunk from Verse Chamer, which is in Sefer Devarim, in Deuteronomy. In repetition of the Chumash, where there's another account, which I'm giving as a table with additional details. And I tried to organize it by day. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbat. If you didn't lose last week's text, which looks like this, the Yisrei parts of the text are in regular type, and all the other texts, which are all marked, where they're coming from, are in a bold type to separate the foundational text of the event of the beginning of the Torah from the additions which come from different places, mostly from the Mishpat and from Verse. And we finish reading. Now, the last part of what we read may have been wrong, because it's possible that the last few Psukim on Mishpat happened later. But I told you last week, I know I told last week because I saw it this morning in my review, that I'm going to revisit this last few Psukim of Project Mishpat. It's very difficult to place. At least according to Rashi, there's Rashi being two opinions about it. When they exactly happen, when Shem of Moshe come up the mountain and stay for 40 days and all that stuff. But most of what we read the last 2 weeks actually did occur on Friday, according to Rashi at least, on Friday the 5th of Sivan. And the height of it, the essence of it, is the conversion of the Jewish people as per the Rambam that we just read in the last class. You understand? We're now ready for the Sichos, and there are 5 of them. That's a lot of reading. The story of the Torah Matan Torah, the day before we received the Torah, has 5 Sichos that we're going to learn. There's more than 5 Sichos, but 5 that we're going to learn. I prepared them. Okay, and this is the first. Now, the way I organize these 5 Sichos is topically. In other words, I'm not necessarily going to the first volume of look at the Sichos, the last volume. I try to organize the idea that we're going to learn based on the concept. And this is the first. The first one asks a simple question. Why can't Hashem tell a story straight? God created the world, right? Yeah. He created the best storytellers, right? Yeah. So why can't he tell a story correctly? Or to tell a story and forget a bunch of details, and then next week, oh, I forgot to tell you and add some more details. Why can't he tell the story straight? And what would happen if in the Chumash, the story of Friday, the 5th of Sivan, the day before the Torah was given, in Yisrael, you would read the account of Moshe Rabbeinu converting the Jewish people. Who would have heard of written in order? Why does it have to be messed up? Disorderly. Now, the Gemara says, Ein mukta mocha b'Torah, the Torah does not follow a chronological order. It's important to appreciate when the Gemara says Ein mukta mocha b'Torah, there's no chronological order in Torah, it doesn't mean it doesn't have an order. It just means it doesn't have an order of time. The Torah has a very precise order. Now, me and you may not be able to figure out why, but Hashem has a reason he put it in this order. And when I say Hashem has a reason, I don't mean in a level of will which is higher than logic. A yid of Torah can explain to you why Torah is written the way it's written. But there's more considerations than quote unquote, as they say it in the college world today, history, historic fact. There are other considerations. And the Eibishter knew that people are going to come along and start saying that the Torah is a messed up book because it doesn't follow laws of history. The Eibishter going to say, Mr. Historian, you don't run the world. You run one department and there are other departments. And because of those other departments, sometimes there are considerations other than historical accuracy in the black and white sense. Not how to show the difference, telling us not easy, not true, telling us in a kind of way, which are quote unquote confusing. The Torah does not tell the story in order of time, because the Torah tells us the story in it for a different reason. But there's an order. And that's what the Sikh is about. Why is this story not told in order? And the Rebbe can give us a very logical answer. Very logical. Now, girls, in case you were not here last year, some of you weren't. The Sikh has a lot of pages. We're not reading every word. We're reading only the underline. Which means your job is to find the underline, put your finger on the place, and read with me. You will not get lost if you don't look away. If you look away, you're lost. If you will follow with me, I'm gonna read only the word that's how we do this. If I read every word in the Sikha would take a year. You understand? We're reading just the lines the part that I underlined. Please try to follow with me if you're a text person. If you're not a text person, look at my nose and try to figure me out. I can figure me out. I think my wife can figure me out. If you want to figure me out, go right ahead. Better listen to what I'm saying. Yeah. You ready? In Parshas Mishpatim, the section we just read the last 2 weeks, it says Hashem told Moshe to come up the mountain, and I'm going to give you the Torah and stay there for 40 days and hold it. And then it describes what happened. The beginning of the account is not even Friday; it's Thursday. Thursday afternoon, they should have been speaking to the Jews. Then it said he went to sleep. He woke up in the morning, and remember, this was after mitzvah Prishas. They had been given the mitzvah of the 48 hours that they were ready to become prophets. So when the Jews are spending the 2 days that they had to prepare themselves to be holy enough to meet God face to face, which most prophets spend an entire lifetime, and they got 48 hours, in the middle of that, you have this story. Moshe says, you're all busy becoming holy, but I got to convert you. And he gathers them all together, and they go through the ceremony of conversion. Says Rashi, this story that we're reading in Parashat Mishpatim happened before the 10 commandments were given. And B'Dalet Sivan Nemel Eleh, it was the 4th of Sivan, which is actually Thursday, that you read the pasuk, go up to the top of the mountain, and I'm going to give you the Torah. And then it says a couple of psukim who mentioned they wrote down. Then it said they went to sleep and they got up in the morning. And the next morning was like a Friday, and then they will continue. Let's haste in other words, as we pass the state dog. This story, written in Sefer Mishpatim, is Shalobim Kaima is not in the right place, strictly judging by chronological consideration. Turn the page, please. Did I confuse you yet? Yeah. Top of the second column, page 154. You need to understand the need that in this case. Beis nun dalet vav there's 2 Aramaic words, the nidun and the case, the dan that is out. Don't worry about the Aramaic. Paros, why? Though the passion, this story, the Meisha Omer Leah, Hashem told Meisha Rabbeinu, as part of the preparation to give the Torah, was his Gezogavan, which was said, pay the Maseres I did before the 10 commandments given, over Dalet Simon the 4th of Simon. The Rebbe's question is a simple one. Why Stein Shalei b'Mekaymer? Why is it written in the wrong place? There's no reason the Abish that couldn't, maybe he forgot it. Maybe Hashem forgot. Hashem could forget, right? Why can't Hashem forget? If you go, why can't he forget now? He forgot. So when he wrote, oh, I forgot. You could have edited it, no problem. And by the way, Hashem doesn't forget, for the record, in case you have issue. Hashem didn't make no mistakes. He could have told the story in order. And on Thursday afternoon, it would have the record. On Thursday morning, they got mitzvah Pisha, right? They said they don't want to have any lawyers. They want to speak to Hashem directly. They got the mitzvah Pisha. And in conjunction with that, Hashem tells them what's going to happen. He writes the Sefer Torah till Pashas. So, from the beginning of the book until this point, all the things we read in the last 2 weeks that happened in real time in the afternoon of the 4th and in the day of the 5th, they could have been written in order. There's no reason why not. Just like I was able to move the psukim around, Hashem could have moved the psukim around, right? And he didn't do that. In Parashas Yisei, there tell. Did I lose you yet? Or I still have you. In the Parashas of Yisei itself, that tells the story. Wegen die Achonis to Matan Torah, the preparation of Matan Torah. Yom HaSheni, the second day, which is Beis Sivan, the 2nd of Sivan, which is actually on. For Yom HaSheni, the 2nd day of the month, which is Beis Sivan, and by the way, I don't know why the Rebbe doesn't say it, but you also have from Monday, the 1st day of the month. The problem is, Monday, the 1st day of the month, you know what Hashem said? Who's been around? He said nothing. And the Rebbe makes that nothing into a very, very big something. But the reason the Rebbe doesn't say it, because nothing happened. But we make the nothing into a big something. But on Tuesday, the 2nd day of Sivan, that's the day of Yom HaMiyuchas, the Jewish people's distinction for good and for bad. The chosen people happened on Tuesday, the 2nd of Sivan. For Yom Shlishi, what happened on Wednesday, the 3rd day of Sivan, when Hashem said, make fences. Remember that commandment? Make fences. They'll be out of the fence, they'll be into the fence. I'm gonna talk only to you, they're not gonna see it here, but they're just gonna be witnesses. And then, when I tell from the Via Lachedish, a part of Thursday, which is the 4th of the month, when the Jews told Hashem, if God is doing business with us, He's gonna sit at the same table, no lawyers. The lawyers can do the negotiations, but the contract is signed by the two owners of the businesses. Hashem is gonna meet us directly. Hashem, do you wanna meet me? Yeah. What's the quotable quote? Moshe thought it was a great idea. God thought it was a terrible idea. And the Jews had no idea what they were getting themselves into. That's the quote. Yeah. Moshe didn't mind. So they'll die, but they'll become Nevi'im in the midst, in the interim. And Hashem said, Moshe, what do you care? They want to be Nevi'im. And the Jews were naive. So they got another set of rules. All of that is in Yisrael, in its place in chronological order. Koilad and Tzivay Hashem, including the divine commandment of Prisha V'Agbala, becoming holy and separating himself, which means that since the Jews insisted on speaking to the Hashem directly, and not just witnessing Hashem is speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu as their prophet, their behalf, they had to not just make a fence and stay out of the fence, they had to make a fence and go inside the fence. And the chief prophets, by Yekadesh as Ha'om v'Goyim, and he made the people holy. By Yerim Elohim, he told the people, you the Chodim, get ready to receive the Teshuvah, you understand? And therefore, I'll teach you now what I told you, you have to be pure and holy. All of that is in Yisrael. And then there's a piece missing. When they're not, immediately thereafter, they get Mount Teda, B'Yem Shishi, Yeshvi B'Chedesh. Hashem giving us the Teda on the 6th day, which was Shabbat. And we're going to meet Hashem to measure nothing. We have in time Yisrael also after Hashem gave us the Teda. On that day, Hashem spoke to measure on that Shabbat, the 6th of Sivan, after they give it to all of us. Hashem gave some method of measure of man, pass along to us. Next paragraph, please. When it say Parashat Mishpatim, at the end of the next section, Parashat Mishpatim, Keretzich the Teda goes back to the Merois from Dalet Sivan and to Chamisha B'Sivan, to the event that happened at the end of the day on the 4th of Sivan, which was Thursday, and what happened on the 5th of Sivan, which was Friday. And the Rebbe's question is, I get it that the Teda is not written in order. But I also get it that the Teda is not written in the order of chronology of time. There's another order. What's that order? If the Teda Dafka writes the story in such a way that it can be so confusing, part of it is here, and part of it is here, and Midrash is there, how to arrange it. Violating the law of the order of chronology, there's got to be a good reason, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe wants to know what that reason is. Turn to page 156. If you want to know how you get to a Sira, this is how. This is called Express. If anybody wants to speak, now is the time. Okay. No. I'm sorry. Page 155 at the bottom. I go back. And then we just follow. And we're going to read this paragraph and then we're going to stop. I mean, the clock has no heart, as you know. Well, by the way, the heartlessness of the clock is actually advantageous. Because the clocks had hearts as crazy as we are. The clocks had Rahmanas. Oh my God. By Matan Torah has Ugetan saying your his answer. The Torah does not follow chronological order because it has a different order. And the foundation of that order is based on the following fact. When Hashem gave us the Torah, two things happened. Number one, Aleph. The Oyibishter had given Torah. Hashem gave the Torah, which is mitzvahs, the halacha, the commandments, and the ways of life of Torah, to give to the Jewish people. One of the ideas I never talk about often in the series, and it's actually very serious, is that Torah is not a book of ideas. It's a book of ideas also. Torah is a book of practical ideas, actionable ideas, that can and must be played out in the real world. For Torah to be Torah, it can't just be in the brain, it has to be in the brain and in the soul and in the body and in the active and in the world. And Hashem gave all that, not just the concepts, but the reality of being able to live those concepts. Faith, number two, Yidden and durch them geworden Hashem giving us it. And with the understanding that Torah is not only ideas, but a way of actionable living, the Jewish people would then live for the rest of time. In getting that Torah, we became Hashem's slave or servant. Kamashinem, as the pasuk says, Tav and you come to worship God on this mountain. Well, with Lach and Rashi, and the word of Rashi, Yidden that in Gevarim Mishubadu, and Hashem gave us the Torah. We gave ourselves to Him in the process, and we became enslaved. We became servants of Hashem. But two things are happening in the event of Mount Torah. Hashem is giving us, and we are giving ourselves to Him. You follow? Find the page. Find the page. Page 156. 156, yes. First on the line. Das is the Teich and Achillik to Bishni Tefash. This is the answer. Why is the account of the giving of the Torah divided up in half? To violate the laws of chronology. That much of it is in Yisrael. And a little bit which happened in the middle is left from Mishpatim. Because the Torah divides up the story of Hashem giving us the Torah not based on days, but based on effect, on accomplishment. Parshas Yisrael tells you everything you need to know about Hashem gave us the Torah. Parshas Mishpatim tells us everything you need to know about us giving ourselves to Hashem. So it's divided into two. And it ruins, quote unquote, the historical precision of it. But there's other consideration. And the consideration is that there's two stories. There's the story of Hashem giving us the Torah, and there's the story of us giving ourselves to Hashem, and that's divided up into two subsections. And that's the answer to the question. It's not written in the order of time. It's written in the order of topic. Parshas Yisrael and Parshas Seir. Within Parshas Yisrael and Parshas, we read. Parshas Yisrael, that's it, the Ike. Parshas Yisrael speaks primarily, predominantly, wegen the Sinas Mitzvah Torah, but giving the Torah and the commandments of the Torah. In other words, the 10 commandments are the foundation of Torah and mitzvahs, and we must repeat it again, but translate into a behavioral way of life. Und der Rebbe, see what I'm reading? Therefore, it includes in the story of Hashem giving us the Torah all those aspects of Hachoneh to Matan Torah, of us preparing to get the Torah. That's a beikah, which is discussing primarily the mitzvahs that we give. Those instructions Hashem gave us, Alice, Hachana to Matan Torah to prepare. In other words, what we read in Parashat Yisrael, in the days leading up to the Torah, are instructions from Hashem about how to prepare. Number one, make fences. Number two, make yourself holy. Number three, do such and such. So the story of Yisrael is Hashem giving, including in the story of Hashem giving, are the instructions that Hashem gave to help us prepare to get the ultimate gift of Matan Torah. It's all in one parsha. Top of the second column, 156. Masha'enkin in Parashat Mishpatim. However, in Parashat Mishpatim, the next week, that's it. It discusses wegen Satan Indian in Matan Torah, the second idea of Hashem giving us the Torah, which is namely the Krisus Bris, the establishment of the covenant. You heard those words before today, right? Yes, in the last class. Tradition of Oivish in the Yidden between Hashem and the Jewish people. The Rambam uses the word Bris twice. We have a covenant, a pact. And there's only one problem with this pact. We can't get out of it. And there's only one wonderful thing about this pact. You know what that is? That God can't get out of it either. That God can't get out of it. What do we got to lose? We're connected to God. What is God? That's it. That's the pact. This is the covenant that He made with us and made with Him. But the focus is on us. The covenant's vision of Abish Yidden, the covenant between Hashem and the Jewish people, through the relevance through which Yidden and Gevarim Mishabad the lead the Jewish people from place back on the that the Heilige Rebbe of Das is gewesen, that this was achieved through the Pratim and always the process of the pact between God and us and God and us and God, where we're giving ourselves to Him, includes the details of the story was there in the tail door, which we recorded in the Parashat Mishpatim. Well, we read, girls, last week on Wednesday and 2 weeks on Wednesday from the Chumash of Parashat Mishpatim is describing the things we did to make that covenant happen. So they're a different parasha because they're a different subject. Same day, different topic. What happened on Wednesday and on Thursday and on Friday, which was by preparing us for Hashem to give us the Torah of this day. What happened on Wednesday and on Thursday, or on Thursday and on Friday, in preparing us to give ourselves to the Eibishter and doing so. In fact, that's in Pashat Mishpat. Amiras Nasa, that we declared that we're gonna do what Hashem said. And then Nasa V'Nishma, we're gonna do and we're gonna hear. In other words, the Kabbalah for Yidden, the Jewish people's acquiescence, the Jewish people's acceptance, the Jewish people's submission to do the Torah, which includes Shiva, Sefer, and the writing down of the book of the covenant. And being on his bed, within the altar, which will be the next year, by the way. We're not covering the bringing sacrifices. Hazaz Domim, having the blood sprinkled upon us, which actually said thing had happened without us going to the mikvah. All those details are our conversion. Our conversion is our contribution to the pact. That's a Pashat Mishpat. You follow? You see what the Rebbe is doing? He's saying, take off the lens of chronology. It's true. History is important, but it's one version. It's one aspect of the story. The Torah doesn't follow the chronological aspect because the Torah is interested in the religious aspect. And the religious aspect is divided up into two pashas because there's two big things going on. God giving us and us giving ourselves to God. So Yisrael is the first, and Mishpatim with the second. And then it concludes, the mit is parenfe, that automatically answered. But pashtas in a way which is so simple, the hemshech say that apachas v'anyonim, the flow of the organization of the pashas and ideas in these seders in these two pashas. They don't follow time, they follow theme. Real steht in Torah. First, it's written in the Torah. Das was it sheiches zum ersten Yinin Matan Torah. Everything connected to the first idea in the giving of the Torah. And the Rebbe adds the word ubeshleimut, and only, completely, peacefully, which is Messina, mitzvah, the giving of the commandment, and the laws of the Torah. Top of 157 now. Und noch then wie der Torah verendigt. And only with Torah completely finishing. With them ersten Yinin Matan Torah, with the first thing of Matan Torah, heute on the Torah, and then Faraday Torah, then begins to elucidate, to list in detail. Das was hat Sheiches zum zweiten Indian in Matan Torah, everything connected to the second idea of Matan Torah, which is the key to this, the covenant that Hashem made with the Jews. What are the comments? No questions, no comments? Okay. I'm going to let you have lunch 5 minutes. We're gonna stop. We'll continue next week. There was a lot. I want to do this today. I want to do this the next week. Okay? Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for coming and listening. Okay, that was a pretty good week.
Let me give this to you and you can talk to her.
If you'd like, sure. Anybody wants to? Baruch Hashem. I didn't make it up. I just read it.
Advice and Nike.
Now that